Welcome. I am Sammy Terry. Strange noises, moans, groans, laughs, crying, screams. Pictures fall to the floor, dishes crash off the shelves, lights turn on and off, furniture moves, doors open, windows fly up and down, strange shadows on the wall, footsteps in the hall. Books and other objects move. Some are even hidden from you. All of this and more can and does happen in supposedly empty Hoosier homes. Are the ghosts in Indiana alive or dead? Real or imaginary? Are they friend or foe? Don't decide until you sing tonight's Scary Tales. We begin our journey tonight at Locust Hill, the fifth oldest brick home in Indiana. And like most old homes, its story is best told by previous occupants who are permeating the atmosphere.
Locust Hill is the fifth oldest brick home in the state of Indiana. And it was built by a gentleman by the name of O'Hare, or O'Hara, which was the original family name, and James Eddington Montgomery, which was his full name, which is a mouthful, I realize, but he was the builder of the home. He came here in the 1820s to this site and purchased this land for $85, 85 acres, and then talked his was going to be brother-in-law out of another 85 for free. Very astute businessman, I could see that. And then he married Elizabeth Montgomery. That was her name also. And they built this home here. They started out in a log cabin. So the home in itself is about almost 200 years old. Very gregarious folks, love to have parties and love to have visitors. William Henry Harrison has been here and his family in the home right where we're sitting here in this room. The O'Hare family, Mr. O'Hare, James Eddington Montgomery, was a very prolific gentleman. He had 14 children by his first wife, Elizabeth, and 14 children by his second wife. He was populating the county with O'Hares. They were also, of course, here during the Civil War period. They would put up prisoners of war here in the home, because right in front of the home was what was referred to at that time as the Lafayette Pike. Now it's Highway 231. And they would take the prisoners from barges down at Gosport, Indiana, and take them up to the prison camp at Lafayette and take them over to Camp Morton in Indianapolis. Well, the O'Hare family would put these fellows up here when they came by. This was about halfway between, we have to remember, these fellows were walking. They were not driving their automobiles. So they'd put them up here. And during that time period, This brings to mind the fact that one of the prisoners had died here, and before he died, he'd fallen in love with one of the O'Hare daughters. She was 16 years old, and he was very enamored, apparently, with the young lady, and passed on. He was wounded, apparently, and then complications set in, probably pneumonia, we're not sure. At any rate, the young Confederate officer, he was a lieutenant, died here in the home, and he makes his presence known here frequently. James will manifest himself in a variety of ways. Normally, he's seen in the dormer window upstairs here in the home. He died in what we refer to as the south wing bedroom, and he makes an appearance there occasionally. He has been seen by as many as 30-plus people at one time, and he appears in his uniform, and so we all know that it's William. He has never been an unwanted guest here in the home. Actually, we're the guest here in the home.
Well, we did have a gentleman stop by about 3 weeks ago or 4, and I could tell he wanted to talk to me. I was hanging wallpaper in the bathroom, getting ready for an event here, and I could just tell he was just being really antsy, you know, and I said, "Can I help you with something, or would you like to see something?" He said, "I just got a question." He said, "You have a spirit here, don't you?" And I went, "Yes, we do." And he said, "I know you do." He said, "I could tell as soon as I walked in through the door that you have a spirit here." And he said, "Matter of fact, I'm the 4th generation that gets these feelings or these vibes." He said, "And I can tell you even what, it's a gentleman, isn't it?" And he said, "He had something to do with military." And I said, "Yes, you know, it was a Civil War soldier." And he said, "Yes, and I can even tell you that what he looks like. He's tall and has brown hair, and he's thin, and he has a beard." I went, "Well, that's more than, you know, than we've known about him before." I have seen doors slam, especially the door where most people enter to come into the shop, and that door has slammed, and it doesn't slam. I mean, you have to physically really push it shut, but it has slammed on its own. William does tend to pull some pranks on us now and then.
I think here we have to realize that there's more than one presence here in the home. We have 2 ladies that have appeared out here in the kitchen in their Victorian costumes, naturally, in that time period. And then we've had meals fixed for us here. Oh yeah, and we've had, when we remodeled a bathroom upstairs because there was no bathroom up there, and they rattled the walls for us. That was something new to them, apparently. The ladies came into the kitchen from the pantry kitchen and disappeared in the kitchen.
We feel like, yes, they're happy with what we've done with the home. We've restored it, brought it back to its original, how it would have looked back in the 1800s, and I think they're happy about that, and we feel that they're happy about it.
Do you know how you will die? Will it be peaceful and serene, violent, ugly, sickness or trauma? Would you like to know? The ghost of the 100 Steps Cemetery can tell you. Silhouetted against the midnight sky, round like a gypsy's magic ball, just west of Brazil, Indiana, is a prophetic cemetery few ever challenge or test, for the consequences can be death. That's the story old-timers tell, for it is the 100 Steps Cemetery, dating back to the 1860s when the early pioneers placed superstitious charms and spells to protect loved ones' graves from robbers, wolves, and other marauders of the night. If you're brave of heart, climb the broken, decrepit, overgrown by weed steps, past the places of entombment of our predecessors who settled this land. Stories of plague. Indian fights, robberies, wars, and all of the causes of man's demise are forever buried under the crumbly, weather-worn tombstones. But those are their stories of how they died. If you dare climb the steps to the top of the hill at midnight, you can learn your eternal fate. Climb slowly and carefully, else you fall and lose the count. And count each step. Then return back to the bottom, again counting the steps. And if you don't get the same number as going up, the prophecy will come true. But before you leave the top of the hill, after catching your breath from the climb, turn toward the open field and steel yourself for the pronouncement of your impending doom. Looming out of the light of the midnight moon, the ghost of the first cemetery undertaker will appear, wordlessly, and reveal a vision of your death. And then, like fog in the rays of the morning sun, silently depart and fade before your eyes. If you think you can avoid the Grim Reaper of the 100-Step Cemetery by avoiding the stairs, you'll be attacked by a phantom hand in the dark and be violently shoved to the ground, leaving a brilliant red imprint on your back, which reputedly is the mark of the devil for all of your neighbors to see. If this story of the ghost of the 100-Step Cemetery is true, this is all anyone has ever told. And those who could tell more are all dead. The Slippery Noodle Inn, an Indianapolis downtown landmark. It's known as Indiana's oldest continuously operated bar. I think I'm going to sample their Type O cocktail. Some say the Slippery Noodle was a way station on the Underground Railroad. The Brady and Dillinger gangs hid out there and left bullets in the ancient bricks where they probably shot at things other than targets. And upstairs, ladies of ill repute transacted business, all within sight of the state capitol. How many thousand people have sipped beer in the Slippery Noodle, unaware of the tunnel running out of the basement under South Street, or the ghosts permanently residing there?
There's supposed to be two ghosts in the place. One is located down in our basement, which was part of the Underground Railroad, and the ghost down there is a older, tall black gentleman. It's wearing bib overalls, basically dressed more or less like a railroader. We're guessing that he's probably was one of the slaves that had been hidden in the building going through the Civil War years with the Underground Railroad and whatnot. The other one is a fairly young girl upstairs in the part that was the inn, later years a brothel. That girl's dressed in a long flowing dress, again, turn of the century type of attire. Many years ago, a group of my waitresses brought in a Ouija board and sat down in one of the little cubbyhole rooms that everybody stays away from, and came up with the girl's name being Sarah. And that one's just kind of stuck with us across the years. We have had different experiences across the time where, with nobody else in the building, with just one person in the building, you're hearing conversations, footsteps walking overhead, chairs moving, just general noises that you should not have when you're the only person in the building. There's 2 rooms in the place that I still, for no apparent reason, I still have just a hard time going into, or just don't feel very comfortable in. What was the public restroom upstairs is one of them, and the other one's a small cubby hole downstairs in the basement that has an archway leading back out underneath South Street. The business itself dates back to 1850. In latter years, going through the 20s, it became kind of a hangout for some of the gangsters and Dillinger and Brady gangs, both obviously coming all through Indiana all the time. Supposedly hung out here, and one of the walls over here behind us has still got a few slugs buried in it. We're hoping that that was just for target practice. As far as we know, that's all it was for.
It's easy to understand why someone, even the owner, would feel uncomfortable in the washroom upstairs, or down in the cubbyhole, or anywhere else in the slippery noodle. Since it is a bar, maybe the tall man dressed in coveralls could be enticed to stay around just long enough for one late-night game of gin rummy. In the 1830s, a common and convenient method of travel, other than horseback or walking, was the canal boat, connecting the inlands with the major rivers. On these canals, people built inns and taverns where travelers could stop overnight. One such stopping place was Squire Clemens' Whitehall Tavern. The town of Laurel, Indiana, grew up around this prominent landmark. And while it never served liquor, Whitehall Tavern has had spirits of a very different kind. James Howe, proprietor of the Trapper's Hog Roast in historic Metamora, knows the stories of the tavern all too well. James is the current owner. He tells a tale full of sorrow and woe. Early in the gold rush days, a young Frenchman was traveling through the Indiana on the Whitewater Canal to find his fortune, along with his pregnant Indian-born wife. She was too feeble to continue the journey, so he left her in the care of Squire Clemens, owner of the Whitehall Tavern, with his promise to return by Christmas. The baby was born. Christmas came and went, but the trapper did not return. Whitehall Tavern became the only refuge the young mother and child had. In an effort to soothe the grieving wife, Squire Clemens tried to convince her the journey west was long, and her husband must have meant the following Christmas. Again, Christmas came and went, and the mother became more despondent. Whether he was waylaid by robbers on the way back to Laurel, killed by Indians, got sick and died of pneumonia in the dense woods, was killed by wolves, a bear, or other wild thing, no one knows, for he was never heard from again. Soon the sounds of the young baby were silent. No one had seen the infant for days, and the mother turned inward, seeking no one's help. She was found shortly after in one of the tavern rooms. she had committed suicide. The baby was not found. Cognizant of Indian belief and customs, Squire Clemens buried the mother in an unmarked grave where her family's spirits could find her, but marauders and thieves could not. Soon after the mother's death, the crying began again. It's said to be a haunting cry, the cry of a baby and the mournful sobs of a mother trying to quiet the infant. But there is no baby at Whitehall Tavern. Only ghostly sounds remain for anyone who dares to listen. The sounds of a lonely mother and child still waiting for the Frenchman's return. Years later, while the tavern was undergoing restoration, a small bundle was found within one of the Whitehall Tavern's chimneys. Wrapped in an aging Indian blanket were small bones and a skull. The remains were buried at an undisclosed location, but the cries continue. And for this young mother and baby, Christmas never comes.
Since 1962, Sammy Terry has brought chills down the spines of Indiana viewers. Now you can own a copy of tonight's show, complete with vintage Sammy Terry performances for just $19.95. This is the perfect addition to any video library and one you will want to share with family and friends every Halloween. For each VHS or DVD copy, send a check or money order for $19.95 plus $4 shipping and handling, along with your name, address, and daytime phone number to Sammy Terry's Scary Tales in care of Producers Plus, Post Office Box 17194, Indianapolis, Indiana 46217. Indicate your choice of VHS or DVD format. This is your chance to own a piece of history. With the first 500 orders received, we will include a picture personally autographed by Sammy Terry. Don't miss out on this unique opportunity. Order your VHS or DVD copy today.
Up until now, the ghosts I have introduced you to have had rather unhappy stories to tell, of violence, of sadness, of death. But there are many ghosts whose stories are quite different. And now I'd like for you to meet a few of those whose stories are quite happy, maybe even funny. They're the type of ghosts that you wouldn't mind having in your home all the time.
The Shank Mansion Bed and Breakfast was built in 1874 by Benjamin Franklin Shank. It was built as a private home for himself and his three daughters, Eugenia, Justine, and Corinne. I do have a regular clientele. I have a lot of repeat business, a tremendous amount of repeat business, actually. People that come and stay 3 and 4 times a year. I do have some guests that are here all the time. I don't know if you want to call them permanent residents or just some added guests is what I call them that are here 365 days a year. They're very friendly spirits. There's a lot of folklore about how they came about. I personally believe they're from a log house that sat here prior to this house being built. There used to be a log cabin on this site, and it was burnt with 2 people in it, a young lady named Sarah, and the fellow was a soldier. They really don't know if he was from the north or from the south, but the cabin was burnt because they were living in sin, and at that time you didn't do that. And I think that they're the spirits that are here, but they're very friendly and very kind and pull little pranks. Nothing what I would really call scary. So the word haunted doesn't seem haunted to me because they're kind. They open the doors, turn the lights off and on, things like that. They're very protective of the house. I'm not really sure why they do the things that they do. If something's wrong, they'll set the alarm off if I'm not here, and it makes me have to come to town. And then I find out that someone's either hit a tree in the driveway or something was left on the garden hose. I left the garden hose on one time on the flowers, so therefore your fire alarm in your house goes off. There's been several occasions where people that are local will drive up to the house at night to show their family and their friends this beautiful old house that's in Vivi, and they're showing them around. And the lights in the house will come on when they come up in the driveway. And so I've had them comment to me several times that about the motion sensor lights that I have in my house are working. But I don't have any motion sensor lights in my house. So I just let it go at that. I don't really tell them anything. I just know that they're protecting the house when I'm not there. Now, on occasion, a guest will bring pictures back, or they'll mail them to me. Just recently, I had a lady send me a pack of pictures. She had double prints made, and she sent me the whole stack of prints of the pictures she took of the house, because some of them are quite good of the rooms. And she wanted to let me know that I had spirits in my house, and wasn't sure that I was aware of that. And she called me, actually, and said, you know, these pictures are on their way, and you have little orbs in your pictures, or they're little circles, little white circles in the pictures. She called them orbs. And I had not told her the story of the ghosts of the house. And this is not the first picture that I've received where it's a scenery picture, and out on the side of the picture it looks like it's on fire, like there's flames. And it's during the day, but it looks like fire in the picture. So after she sent those pictures to me and I told her the story, and she was amazed because it does look like fire in the picture, and that's happened a few times. One of the most interesting things, and people who are non-believers, this is something that I've had some friends stay in the house, and we'll be working on a puzzle, because I do a lot of puzzles in the library. And at the end of every single puzzle that I've ever done, for the last 3 years that I've been running a bed and breakfast in this house, every single puzzle has a piece missing at the end. Every one. And you can look around for it because you think you've dropped it or whatever, and you look around the room for the puzzle and you don't find it. I've even run the vacuum cleaner in there. And then I come back in and it's laying right there. So, and it happens every time. So that's, some people who are non-believers, they don't believe in such thing, will be doing a puzzle, and I said, you know, there will be a piece missing. And I can go clear to the other end of the house to make sure that I'm not the one that hid the puzzle piece or whatever, to prove a point to them, and the puzzle piece is always laying there. Real obvious. So I think it's just little pranks.
If you leave the Shank Mansion and travel downstream along the Ohio River, you'll find many interesting mansions. Two of particular note are the Lanier Mansion in Madison and the Culbertson Mansion in New Albany. Both steeped in history and legend. Built in the 1840s by James F.D. Lanier, the Lanier Mansion is a striking structure overlooking the Ohio River in the heart of Madison. In 1925, the house officially became the state's first historic site and was restored to welcome visitors. Little did anyone know that there were many tenants who would refuse to leave. One of the most written about is the famous Lady in Red, who, legend tells us, has assisted with several tours in the home. There are several areas, particularly on the third floor where the children slept, that are prone to the strange and unusual. Puzzles that rearrange themselves. Alarms that go off for no apparent reason. Toys in disarray. And workers have reported phantom footsteps on the staircase. Then moving west to New Albany, you'll find the Culbertson Mansion, built in 1867 by William S. Culbertson for $120,000. This Victorian home is said to be built on the site of a Civil War hospital. That may account for some of the strange hauntings that have been reported. Footsteps, doors slamming, furniture being moved around are typical of such homes. But at the Culbertson Mansion, the the entity seems to be fascinated by the vacuum cleaner. It mysteriously turns itself on. Some visitors have reported seeing a woman wearing a long gray skirt with a bustle by the second-floor bedroom. She seems to ooze through the door. The fear of being buried alive has been the source of many pleasant nightmares over the years. But for some, the thought is all too frightening. During the 1920s, no one in the quiet Terre Haute neighborhood knew that Martin Sheets was a man consumed with such fear that he would take it to his grave. Born in 1853, Martin Alonzo Sheets became a successful businessman in Terre Haute. But there always seemed to be something strange in his behavior. Was it his fear of the grave that drove him to bizarre activities, wanting to take every precaution? Sheets had a telephone installed inside his mausoleum at Highland Lawn Cemetery, along with a bottle of whiskey. Upon his death, he was to be buried in a casket that unlocked from the inside. His plan, should he be interred prematurely, was to wake up, call a taxi, and have a drink while waiting for it to arrive. Sheets' death was recorded on February 27th, 1926, and he was placed in the mausoleum along with his only child, Ethel, who had died in infancy. Several years later, his wife Susan passed away. It's said that she was found clutching a telephone receiver, the apparent victim of a heart attack. Did she receive a long-awaited call from the grave? Rumors persist that when the mausoleum was opened for Susan's burial, the famous telephone was off the hook, and the whiskey bottle gone.
There are many more hauntings in Indiana, and if you would like to learn about them, we recommend you check out Haunted Indiana by Mark Merriman and Haunted Hoosier Trails by Hoosier historian and folklorist Wanda Lewins.
The name Story, Indiana, should be a misnomer, for there are many stories that will captivate your imagination.
Story, Indiana is a town, and it's also a bed and breakfast. Story was founded in 1851 by a land patent from President Millard Fillmore to Dr. George Story. What makes Story so wonderful, I believe, is that this place essentially was encapsulated in the 1930s, and nothing was done to it since then because everybody ran out of money. And the charm is here, and the isolation is here. And of course, there's the Blue Lady. There's this apparition that floats around here and sometimes makes her presence known to various people.
Employees and several guests at the Story Inn know the room at the top of the stairs as the Blue Lady Room, so named for the spectral visitor that has made her permanent residence.
I and two friends, Logan and Nelson, come down every spring to Story just to kind of kick back and relax. I, as a folklore historian, have heard the stories of the place being haunted by the Blue Lady. So I decided to bring a Ouija board and a white candle for purity and innocence, and after our dinner we were going to try to contact her. We were sitting waiting for the waitress to come and take our order, just talking and relaxing, having a glass of wine. Waitress walks up, and at that precise moment, the glass of wine was thrown in my face. Now, Logan, nor Nelson, or the waitress, no human hand had touched it. Could it have been the Blue Lady? Who knows? It was really kind of frightening, to be truthful.
And other stories have sent chills up and down the spines of the staff.
When I first started working as a waiter, people would say, "Oh, is the place haunted?" And I'd say, "Yeah, sure, whatever you want to hear, no problem." One evening, both of the owners, myself, and the general manager were in the office, which is just adjacent to the Blue Lady room. We were on taxes, paperwork, that sort of thing. Then everybody started leaving. Both of the owners went. The general manager left, and I was by myself. You know, of course, I got to clean up all the paperwork, of course. And I heard someone coming up the back stairs, and I thought it was one of the guys, and I turned around to say, "What?" And there was no one there. But when I turned around, the odd sensation was that someone was in the room with me, and I had this strange prickling sensation across my face as if something was going past me or through me. And at that point, I thought, you know, don't panic, just run.
The inn isn't the only haunting in town. Doc Story's house sits atop the highest point anywhere around. And it has interesting guests in the house as well.
I changed the handle on the shower that's been broken a couple times, and every time that I have gone in to change it, I get it changed, and I start cleaning the shower, and the shower has come on me twice. I know that I had the shower off because I just, you know, fixed the handle, so yeah, it's scary sometimes.
Encounters of the Blue Lady continue to be reported. The aroma of cherry tobacco often accompanies the sightings of this elusive lady.
After dinner, we decided to go back to my room. I was staying in the haunted Blue Lady room where most of the occurrences seem to have happened. We decided to go up there, open up the Ouija board, light the candle for purity, turn the lights out, and try to contact her. Nelson and I sat back. Logan sat cross-legged with his eyes shut, his fingers on the planchette, again asking her to give us a sign. Slowly, the planchette began to move. It first pointed to H, and then I. H-I, hi. He asked her, "Tell us, are you Doc Story's wife? Give us your name." Very, very slowly, the planchette spelled S-T, the first two letters of Doc Story's last name. As this happened, I looked in the mirror, and I saw a blue haze to the left of the mirror forming. Just as I started watching it, just as quickly, it disappeared. Everything ended. There was no more contact with the Blue Lady in that room at that time.
We're probably best known for our food and for our wine list, which is truly extraordinary. For all the things, the scariness of a ghost and apparition here, she's very friendly. People leave here with a very good feeling.
You're watching Sammy Terry's Scary Tales. The Avon Railroad Bridge across US 37 at Danville, Indiana, is haunted, or so residents of Danville claim. During the building of this bridge, it seems there was an accident-prone workman who fell and was entombed alive in freshly poured cement supports. He's still holding up the bridge. And in 1883, Danville was a small 80-acre community, only a little over 50 years old. The surrounding area still had dense forest, and hunting was a frequent pastime. Newspapers report a couple of friends from Danville decided to go rabbit hunting. They went into the forest. The weather was perfect. As they neared the heart of the woods, they suddenly noticed how still it had become. Absolutely no sound, even in the underbrush. They heard nothing. And then they heard something. They heard the sound of hoofs pounding toward them. No horseman in his right mind would bring a horse into the forest, let alone at the speed this horse was approaching. And suddenly, bursting from the black heart of the forest, a creature which could only be said to have come from hell. Today, Danville may claim to have a haunted bridge, but it is nothing compared to what Danville once had. A creature from hell.
Since 1962, Sammy Terry has brought chills down the spines of Indiana viewers. Now you can own a copy of tonight's show, complete with vintage Sammy Terry performances for just $19.95. This is the perfect addition to any video library and one you will want to share with family and friends every Halloween. For each VHS or DVD copy, send a check or money order for $19.95 plus $4 shipping and handling, along with your name, address, and daytime phone number to Sammy Terry's Scary Tales, in care of Producers Plus, Post Office Box 17194, Indianapolis, Indiana 46217. Indicate your choice of VHS or DVD format. This is your chance to own a piece of history. With the first 500 orders received, we will include a picture personally autographed by Sammy Terry. Don't miss out on this unique opportunity. Order your VHS or DVD copy today.
Now, do you believe that ghosts are real? That things that go bump in the night do exist? Believe me, according to legend and folklore, they are all around you. Maybe I'll introduce you to a few more when next we meet. In the meantime, I hope you have many pleasant nightmares. Back when Sammy Terry was young and gaining experiences, he went on an African safari. Now, this was in the days when Africa was truly uncivilized, and you had to have people protecting you as you went. So, on Sammy Terry's safari, he was accompanied by a great 7-foot-tall Watusi warrior as his bodyguard. And everywhere that Sammy went, that Watusi warrior went right with him. And as the safari was proceeding into the deepest, darkest parts of the African jungle, suddenly they were attacked by a huge band of savage headhunters and cannibals. And they fought. And this great 7-foot-tall Watusi warrior in order for Sammy Terry to escape, fought to his death. Then they took his body back into their village, and using voodoo and black magic, they reduced that great 7-foot-tall warrior to the size of a small doll. And he and Sammy Terry had become such very good friends during the course of the safari that it was his desire that if he should die, Sammy Terry would receive all that he had remaining. And when those terrible savages were done with their black magic and their voodoo, all that was left of his great 7-foot frame was this small skull, which I have worn around my neck ever since as a reminder of the very first Sammy Terry family.